The Atlantic kind of went nuts this weekend. What's going on, guys? I'm certified meteorologist Jonathan Kagas. In this video, we are going to take a basin-wide look at 5 storms that are out there. Not every one, though, is of concern. So we're going to kind of remove the noise and break down the ones that we need to be paying attention to over the next week or so. And then beyond, Texas especially, tropical storm warnings have been posted. Newly designated potential tropical cyclone 9 is out in the Gulf. We've been talking about this sneaky storm, and now it looks like it's coming into fruition. In the Caribbean, we have tropical storm Franklin. We also have warnings up for the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Turks and Caicos also need to be on board for this one or watching this one. We are going to break all that down in this video. Before we get into it, if you do want to stay updated on all things weather, especially as we venture through the peak of hurricane season, you have to hit subscribe. Please do that. If you find this content helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help us out a lot. So here we go. This is the basin-wide overview, and this does kind of look overwhelming. It may make your anxiety go up just a little bit, but we are going to break this down for you. There are 2 storms that we really need to be concerned about over the next few days. Most of these are just garbage, so we are just going to talk about those ones first. Gert is barely hanging on. Emily just got ripped apart. That is now post-tropical. This is what we were talking about last week, though, that the Atlantic still, even though there were a lot of blobs on this map, really not supportive of these storms that are trying to get going. We do have another juicy wave that has a 70% chance for development over the next 7 days. You see that right there, X marks the spot. The 2 that we are going to talk about in this video specifically are going to be potential tropical cyclone 9 and then tropical storm Franklin. You see, Franklin is clearly the healthiest storm here. First up, though, potential tropical cyclone 9, then we're going to talk about Franklin, then we're going to look long range. You see the storms blossoming. This is what brought all the heavy rain at times to Florida over the weekend. We were talking about this wave that was situated over the Bahamas, and now it's trying to get its act together. Notice you see the flare-up of thunderstorms. The Gulf of Mexico is extremely warm right now, and there is a center trying to get going right about in there as it works in this direction. Now, the Hurricane Center designates this as a potential tropical cyclone because it has the potential to become a tropical cyclone. Now remember, that umbrella of cyclone is everywhere in the world. In the tropics, they're tropical cyclones, and this has the potential to become one. In the Atlantic Basin, we know them as depressions, storms, and hurricanes. The Hurricane Center does this because they want to give an early heads up. They want to put their cone out and issue warnings, which they have done, which we will get to. Here is what they are expecting: a 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm getting ready to make landfall somewhere in between Corpus Christi and Brownsville, Texas. This is going to be early again on Tuesday morning, so this is going to be a quick mover. This is going to be kind of a flare-up and then done, thankfully, because the water is super warm. If this had any more time over waters, this could really go gangbusters. I still think there's the potential for it to be a little stronger than a 45-mile-per-hour storm. Regardless, this should be on the lower end still. While we desperately need rain in Texas, we don't want it all at once, so we are going to be watching for localized flash flooding as PTC 9 comes on board. Again, this would be the H storm if it does, in fact, verify the forecast and is able to get its act together prior to making landfall on Tuesday morning. So that is the latest on newly designated potential tropical cyclone 9. The tropical alerts that are out, tropical storm warnings in blue here from Rockport to Corpus Christi to Port Mansfield into Brownsville. The watch is in yellow. That includes Bay City. All of this is south of Galveston, south and east of San Antonio, just for perspective here of where we are kind of to look at. The blue color there are the warnings. The yellow is going to be the watch. So just keep that in mind. Again, if you're under the blue, that is a warning, meaning that tropical storm conditions are likely within the next 24 hours. On to Franklin, my friends in the Caribbean. I want you guys to be watching this closely here. It's a big blossoming area of thunderstorms now. The darker purple represents the very intense thunderstorms that are around the center. This should go to the west of Puerto Rico, but still likely going to get some outer bands. Already seeing the clouds on the island of Puerto Rico here. Latest on that, a 50-mile-per-hour storm. Here is the track. Again, some very heavy rain. We're going to be watching for the potential for some life-threatening mudslides, landslides, flash flooding on the Dominican Republic as Franklin lifts north, expected to make landfall later on Tuesday as a 65-mile-per-hour tropical storm, so a strong tropical storm. Potential is also there for a low-end hurricane. The mountainous terrain of Hispaniola, Dominican Republic and Haiti, will have an impact on its strength as it works its way towards the Turks and Caicos. You see there by Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, getting down toward a 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm. Then it gets back over the warm waters and strengthens again into, potentially anyway, the second named hurricane, the second hurricane of the 2023 hurricane season. So we have that we're going to be watching. For the most part, it stays in here, but then way down the road, like 10 days from now, we're going to be watching Franklin for Nova Scotia and the Canadian Maritimes, potentially some coastal flooding off of New England. So watching Franklin for a very long time. This is no doubt going to be the most impactful storm of that hodgepodge, of that bunch of storms that we have kind of strung out into the Atlantic right now. Latest warnings from the Hurricane Center. You see Santo Domingo into the southern side of Haiti has a tropical storm warning. Those tropical storm conditions, again, are expected in the next 24 hours. That yellow there for the northern side of the Dominican Republic and then part of the Turks and Caicos means that tropical storm conditions are possible within the next 36 hours. I want to show you kind of things. This is going to be over the next 10 days now, and I'm going to X out what we aren't concerned with, and I'm going to circle what we kind of are. So again, these big red areas, that's what we're watching. This is Franklin. This is PTC 9. Gert, not worried at all. It's going to be gone soon. It's going to be sheared apart. Emily already gone, but that's the leftover circulation of Emily. Then there's that other one that the Hurricane Center has highlighted. Let's put this all into motion by the time we get to the 24th. 9 is gone. We have Franklin emerging from land. Emily's up here getting ready to be sheared apart even more. And then there's that other entity that could turn into a name system that has that 70% shot again for development. Going out even further, this is going to be the 28th through the 29th, 30th, 31st. This is still Franklin. There's that other little thing that could develop over the next few days. Another wave comes off. That one looks juicy. And then there's this thing right here. Let's talk about that thing. A lot of models been spitting out a strong storm somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico or southeast corner of the United States before August comes to an end. Is that a possibility? Yes, it is. But we don't know where it's going to be if it even, again, comes into fruition. We're going to have this thing develop down here. It's like a quasi-Central American gyre. We talk about this a lot. Towards June and then towards the back half of the season. It's a semi-permanent low-pressure system that chills right over Central America, and it's prominent in June and then towards the end of the hurricane season. But this is one of the places we look for development at those ends of the season. So it's kind of weird that it's here right now, but nonetheless, modeling picking up on it, spitting out a system in the Western Caribbean. Where it goes from there, we don't know. There's enough of an indication that something is going to come out of that. We just don't know what or where. We don't want it anywhere in here because of how warm the water temperatures are. So this is, again, something to be mindful of. It's a large area kind of to be paying attention to. But again, I just want to caution, anything you see on social media is purely clickbait and purely hype. We're watching for something to develop, but there is no way to know where it could go. And then there would be this thing here. So we have the potential for 3 more named storms on top of what was named over the weekend. Now, the GFS is less aggressive, although the GFS is the system that had been putting that phantom storm kind of everywhere along the North Gulf Coast. So something to be mindful of that eventually may catch on. Again, here are those storms, same kind of deal. This is Franklin. This is that new storm. And then kind of spiraling out here, there's that other wave starting to come off. And then as we get into the 31st, it kind of has a very unorganized piece of energy kind of going towards the Western Caribbean or southeast corner of the U.S. by the 31st. So there's something there. It's just not as organized as it was over the weekend, or certainly as what the European solution suggests now. So we are watching. Again, there's a lot of noise in the Atlantic right now. There are 2 storms we're focused on: potential tropical cyclone 9 towards Texas, and then Franklin towards the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and then down the road for those other systems that, again, cannot be reliably forecast at this time just because they have not been born yet. But it's something we're watching. The environment does look prime. Again, it is the peak of hurricane season, so we're into that climatological peak. Plus, we do have a little bit of help from something we know as the Madden-Julian oscillation over the next week to 2 weeks. Hopefully after that, though, we really crank up the wind shear and just kind of kill everything else that comes out of the Atlantic Basin. But we're going to have to watch that closely next 2 weeks. Going to have to do a little bit of dodging, if you will, for the land masses out there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, if you found this content helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to stay updated as we roll through the peak of hurricane season, you have to hit subscribe. Please do that, and we will catch you next time.